Hi, it's
Hello.
Nat. And welcome to the Wellbeing Within Lockdown interview series. I'm Nat Ferrier, and joining me today is Melanie Lillis, mind body coach. Hi, lovely.
Hello.
Who's going to be talking to us about how to reduce overeating during quarantine and create a healthy relationship with food. Welcome, darling.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here in this crazy time. Obviously, it's really important for us to connect and share and help each other out. So I'm really grateful to be able to be on with you. Thank you.
Yeah, really grateful for you sharing your wisdom. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
No worries.
Cool. So did you want to tell us a little bit more about you and your background, what you do and who you work with?
Sure, yeah. So as you mentioned, my name is Melanie. I am a mind body health coach. Studied through the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. We studied eating psychology. A little bit of background in regards to why I studied that. I was a sufferer of binge eating and bulimia for quite some time. Really struggled with body image, really had a toxic relationship with food. Just struggled with hating the skin that I was in. I studied a Bachelor of Physical and Health Education as well as a certificate in nutritional therapy. So I had all those under my belt, but I was just missing that key component of psychology. I was an elite athlete. I represented Australia in 6 different world titles as a sport aerobics athlete. And just being an athlete and having so much pressure on how I looked, the weight that I was, as well as just society challenges, of course, with social media and everything like that. I just couldn't get a grasp on how I could have the body of my dreams and a good relationship with food. And it was through this, really hard time of having this eating disorder that I decided in recovery that I was going to make it my life's mission to help women achieve the same sense of freedom that I eventually was able to achieve. I think that there is a ridiculous number of women and men out there who are suffering with an eating disorder. I think it's such a hard thing to be able to overcome. But luckily enough, I was able to do it. I learned so many strategies and amazing practices that a lot of people aren't teaching. The study that I undertook is a completely different approach to healing than a eating disorder clinic and something like that. Eating disorder clinics are amazing, but what I learned was so phenomenal. And I just knew that that was what I had to do for the rest of my life. And that's my life's purpose. And that's how Bear Brave came about. Bear Brave, Bear meaning your raw, true self, loving the skin you're in, loving who you are as a person. And then brave, being brave enough to step up and take ownership of your life and take ownership of your body. I think they're 2 really powerful words. And that's how that brand came about and the company came about. So yeah, I'm just kind of spending my days now trying to inspire and educate women and help them through one-on-one coaching, through my ebooks, through my podcast, Love Yourself Healthy. And that is my story. I'm just so passionate. I can't explain how passionate I am about helping women. And that's just me now. That is my life.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. I love you. Like, I'm really feeling you like the whole way through that. Tell me, audience, if like, feel free to comment if this was the same for you. Like, I'm just feeling the energy lifting with all this authenticity and passion and high vibe, beautiful energy. So thank you so much for
That's
being
so kind. Yeah,
and that's you. And it's an amazing journey that you've been on, like professionally from your athletic background and then the professional background. So really great to have you here.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And so I think you have a lot of insight and a lot of expertise around, because there's a lot going on right now as people are at home in the middle of lockdown that would fall in the domain of the eating psychology category or things that have been changing since everyone's at home in lockdown. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing with your market or with people in general as you're looking through your lens at what's going on right now?
Yeah, for sure. So there's obviously so many challenges right now with social isolation. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I'm seeing is that everyone's routines have been absolutely flipped upside down, regardless of whether you're still going to work or whether you have lost your job. not only are we spending more time at home, but like we're socially isolating. We're not seeing our friends. We're getting that sense of loneliness. The fridge is literally at our disposal 24/7. And I think this whole sense of uncertainty, regardless of whether you're still working or not, when's life going to go back to normal? When can I go see my family? When can I do this, do that? It's so uncertain. And I think for a lot of people, it's creating a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. And what happens is that's a pain point for our body. And we are pleasure-seeking animals. We seek pleasure and avoid pain. And I'm going to refer to food specifically with this. When the body senses a disbalance in pleasure, it senses a little bit more pain, which is that uncertainty, anxiety, and stress, it will want to balance it out. It wants more pleasure. And the easiest thing for us to do is reach for that food. And that's why you see if someone has a breakup or someone's on their period and they're a little bit more emotional, and whatever we go through, we reach for those pleasurable foods, those sugary kind of foods, to be able to balance out our body. And that's just not because we've lost our willpower and we're like, oh, I don't care anymore. I'm feeling anxious and stressed. I'm going to go have a whole tub of ice cream. That is literally a chemical imbalance that happens in our body. It senses, okay, we're lacking in this pleasure. We need to balance that out. What's the easiest thing we can do to reach for pleasure? Food. I know food is a really pleasurable experience. So they see the fridge and they think, okay, that's going to make me feel better. And that's probably the biggest thing I'm seeing in isolation with a lot of people, is that they're like, Mel, I can't stop opening the fridge and going to the fridge. And that's what happens with boredom as well. Boredom is not a pleasurable experience. It's a boring experience. It's not a good emotion to have, right? And yes. So we seek something that's going to stimulate our brain and stimulate that pleasure sense. And so I think that's one of the biggest things in isolation, is that we have so much uncertainty. We're pleasure-seeking animals. We know that this is going to be the easiest thing for us to reach for because it's a really comfort food. So yeah, I think it's such a hard time right now, no matter who you are. There's obviously some people dealing with it in a really good way, and turning it into a positive experience, which I'm sure we'll get into. But then there are these people who are struggling. And when it comes to food in particular, they're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, how can I overcome this? And that's what it is. It's just that our body is so flipped upside down right now. Our brains are like, what is happening? How can I balance this out? I know what to do. I'm just going to go straight to that fridge. So that's probably yes. The biggest thing that I'm seeing. And I guess the biggest complaint right now with clients, how do I stop going to the fridge?
Yeah. And I imagine there's quite a lot of, guilt and shame coming up around that. But at the same time, like, this is a legitimate coping mechanism of, as you're saying, us trying to find a way to balance what is essentially becoming also a psychological when it's also a physical imbalance, like trying to boost our mood. And then how does one do that in a healthy way?
Yeah, and I think that's why I was so excited to come on and talk about this, because we get so down on ourselves and we do feel guilty. And I think those senses of shame and, oh, I've got no willpower and I just have no control around food. It's so important to understand why things are happening, to be like, oh, okay, I'm not just a willpower weakling. I do have control, but I'm lacking in pleasure. That's what my body is going for. And then it's about understanding that and thinking, okay, how can I compensate for that? What can I do instead of that? So I think it's just so important to be educated on it and to understand that it's okay, this is going to happen. But then, what are the strategies I can put in place to overcome that?
Yeah. Cool. Good perspective.
Yeah.
Did you want to tell us a little bit more about what strategies that you're starting to talk to them about with dealing with that right now?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess when it comes to, I want to talk about, I guess, the main thing that I would do, and then I can kind of break it down a little bit more. But any client, regardless of whether we're in isolation, regardless of whether we're in normal life, routine is probably one of the most important things. Our bodies like routine, they like consistency. And so creating a really beautiful morning routine and then structuring your day to have goals that you can accomplish really allow us to stay in that relaxation response. So what's happening right now is, because of all the uncertainty, anxiety, or just change in pace and change in everything that's going on, the body can be triggered into a stress response. And when we're in this response, we've got different chemicals that are being thrown around. Everything kind of goes a little bit out of balance. And our body always wants to be in homeostasis, which is balance, which is our relaxation response. So the first thing that I always tell people to do is that it's super important to create a morning routine. You can create your morning routine in any way, but just in a way that's going to put you in a nice, calm mindset and something that's going to start your day really good. So for me, I have a pretty good morning routine where I'll wake up and I'll always go for my morning walk to just kind of like wake my body up, get things happening. I'll come back, I do breathing exercises. I love the Wim Hof method on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's like the best. I absolutely love that. A bit of that and then a bit of stretching to just like start my day.
Can I just jump in 5 seconds?
Please.
Just for the benefit of, I'm sure a lot of people, especially if you have Netflix, have probably seen who Wim Hof is, but just for the benefit of anyone who maybe hasn't, did you want to just briefly explain who he is, what he does, what that's about?
Yeah, I'm not probably going to be the best at explaining him because I don't know his story that well, but I just know that he has an incredible understanding of how we can put our body into a certain area for relaxation and kind of focus. So maybe, I don't know if you know him a little bit more.
By having, like, because he takes people into a lot of extreme circumstances, like extreme cold, and he runs retreats. This is for the benefit of the audience here. Where he runs, like, he takes you into, like, you know, really cold places and gets you doing, like, dives into cold water or ice baths or things like that. And a lot of it is around increasing our mental resilience through first challenging ourselves physically, the things that we might have not thought that necessarily, because they would, like cold can trigger you into going, it puts you in that fight flight kind of survival mode of I don't want to die of the cold, but yet we develop this resilience in confronting things like that and having these extreme experiences. People like trying to think of his professor or Dr. Mark Cohen talks a lot about extreme bathing as a part of holistic wellness as well as someone else. But yeah, there's a whole idea around there are health benefits as well as emotional resilience benefits from being in those extreme circumstances. And that's what Wim Hof is essentially helping people to get to the bottom of through breath exercises, physical exercises, and all that retreat and bonding activities that he does.
Which is so important right now for that mental resilience. And I found that the days that I don't do my breathing exercises, just those little levels of anxiety or even just not being able to cope as well as what I would be able to do if I've done them when I've started my day in that response where I'm at full focus. Because the one that I do, you do specific breathing and then you hold your breath for a minute, do specific breathing, hold your breath for a minute and a half, and then you do that again. And it's like the 30 seconds or whatever the first one is, I feel like I can't do it. And then I do it easy. And then I get to a minute, I'm like, I can't do it. And then I do the minute easy and I'm like, then I can't do it again. And it's like just telling your brain, no, you can do this. You can get through this, which is great for both things. It's great for our physical health because we're calming the body, getting into that relaxation response. But then also exactly as you said, like building that mental resilience to be able to cope with harder situations, which right now is so great. And anytime that I find myself a little bit too anxious or whatnot, literally just taking a deep breath and realizing that when we're in that fight or flight mode, in that stress response, our brain doesn't function as good as what it does. Obviously in the relaxation response, I'm not going to think clearly. I'm not going to act clearly. None of my choices that I make are going to be benefiting me in any way. So just stop, just take a breath and just calm yourself. And that's some of the biggest advice that I give with food. We're really fast eaters. We eat on the run, we eat super fast, we eat while we're doing other things. And what happens is, obviously, we have this brilliant mechanism, fight or flight, our survival response, right? If we're getting chased by a bear, we need that to switch on. But unfortunately, our brains can't determine between real and perceived threats. So things like anxiety from job stresses, from financial stresses, from isolation, but from also fast eating, these trigger the stress response. When we're in the stress response, we release insulin and cortisol. They signal the body to store weight, store fat, and not build muscle. We go into some degree of digestive shutdown. We don't calorie burn efficiently, metabolize efficiently. We don't assimilate or absorb our nutrients efficiently. So I have so many people come to me, oh, not only that, but the faster we eat, the longer it takes our brain to catch up. So many people say it takes 20 minutes for our brain to realize what we've eaten, to feel full and all of that. A lot of people who are binge eaters because they devour food when they are in that stress response. It's a really fast act fast process situation. So
Yeah.
when we're going for our meals, we need to stop, we need to slow down, we need to think, we need to breathe and be present in the meal. Make sure it's a nice, slow experience. Not only will you not eat as much food, but you'll also have the benefits of calorie burning and metabolizing more efficiently and less digestive upset, especially if you're someone that gets really bloated and uncomfortable. So I guess going back to your original question of my biggest tips is that morning routine is really important to set up that day. And then from there, every time you're going to have a meal, to stop and slow down and breathe and chew and actually create that meal as an experience for your brain. So it's like, yeah, I did eat that meal. Yeah, it was good. Okay, I'm feeling nutritionally nourished, but also mentally and emotionally nourished. And then also when it comes to that, ask yourself the questions: what am I feeling? Like, how am I feeling right now? And then how do I want to feel after I've eaten this meal? And this helps with your food choices. So if you're someone right now that's like going to the fridge and eating anything, not really thinking about it, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I feel like crap now, not feeling too good. It's like, think about it before you eat it. Just stop for a second. How am I feeling right now? I'm feeling really anxious. I'm not feeling too good. Okay, I need something that's quite grounding and nourishing, and it's going to make me kind of just embody within my body a little bit more, so that I can stop and slow down. Okay, maybe I need a meal that's a little bit more grounding, maybe a little bit more carbohydrate rich, maybe something with a little bit more vegetables, nutrient rich. And then afterwards, I'm going to feel good. I'm going to feel happy with my choice. I'm going to feel a little bit more grounded and settled, so that I can think a little bit more clearer. And that is the best advice that you can give yourself every time you go into a meal. How am I feeling? How do I want to feel after my meal? And then what are you doing and what choices are you doing to support that? The more we can slow down and think and ask ourselves the question, the better that we can actually make food choices and not regret them later and have that guilt and shame and all of that come up within our body.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So be present. Takeaway there, be present when you're eating and take time to notice.
Even if you're a slow eater, right? Think about this, like you're sitting down on the couch and you're watching Netflix and you've got a bag of chips and you're eating them, and then you're like, shit, I just ate a whole packet of chips. How did that even happen? And it's because your brain isn't even focused on what you're doing, and it misses that key phase of I'm eating. It literally doesn't even think that you're eating. And then you're like, oh, I just ate. I'm not even full. Like, what even just happened then? So
your body's still sending those sensory signals, isn't it? It's still trying to tell you, hey, you brain, hey, you up there. I'm starting to feel full right now. But while you're busy focused on Netflix, we're on Netflix.
The cues are being missed. Exactly right. Or it's taking our brain a longer time to kind of get it to the forefront of our mind. And the next minute you've eaten a whole packet of Oreos. I haven't done that, I swear.
Oh, don't worry, I've never eaten a whole packet of chips.
This is not coming from,
does run out too.
Yeah, it's not coming from personal experience, let me tell you.
Not at all.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess like, even though these times right now are so crazy, we have control over the way that we schedule our day, the way that we handle our mental health, the way that we approach our food. I know that if you are really anxiety driven right now, honestly, sometimes you almost you don't want to, but you almost want to stay in that phase. You're like, I don't even care. I'm anxious. This is how I'm feeling. I don't care about doing meditation. Like, that's not even appealing to me. And it's about thinking, okay, set goals every day. How do you want to feel? What's going to help me in this moment? If I'm feeling super anxious, instead of turning to food, what?
Oh, I'm still there. We're just frozen for a sec.
We approach every situation, the way we react and respond. And it's so important to know that and remind yourself of that every day. If you've lost your job, if you're financially struggling, that's so hard. But you have a choice every day to be like, these suck and they're out of my control. But then what's in my control? What's in my control is what I'm choosing to eat and how I want it to nourish me and how I want to feel. What's in my control is how I schedule my day to make the best out of a really shitty situation. What's in my control is doing strategies that are going to keep me in this relaxation response, because I know when I'm up here in that stress response, nothing is being benefited. Literally nothing is benefited. There's no benefit from me feeling anxious. So I need to just be like, okay, how can I calm myself? What's good for me? What can I do? What hobbies can I start doing? I started painting the other day. I'm not a painter. They're really really bad. I actually put the first one up on Instagram and I was like, this is really cool. And then I looked at it, I was like, wow, that's so bad. Let's take that down.
Shame.
Yeah, but it took like me 2 hours of my time. My brain was being stimulated and activated in a totally different way. And I wasn't focused on anything else. And it just made me feel calm and centered. I was away from that screen, which I think is super important right now for everyone who's at home and they're just on their phones and they're scrolling continuously, to get away from that screen and just look after your mental health.
Yeah, it's so important. Can I share one that I found? Because you would well understand the biochemistry and the psychology of this as well. But I found for me, like getting on top of sugar for me, like I find that there's this natural tendency and it sort of happened with lockdown as well, because I don't drive, I walk a lot all over the place, right? Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm not getting as much physical exercise. Swimming is also one of my primary things I used to do, so I can't do it all the time. Yeah. And I can still run, but as you know, the audience won't know, my iron's been really down at the moment. So my physical endurance and my ability to breathe, like at the moment, I'm getting better now, but 3 weeks ago, I couldn't get to the top of stairs without being like a kid with cystic fibrosis. Like I was exhausted by the top of it. But I used to use like going for a run, going for a swim, whatever, like that boosts my endorphins, that makes me feel good. But when I can't do that, it's like I'll go to sugar instead. Exactly. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was saying before, that the whole pleasure seeking animal thing that we have, like when we can't get pleasure somewhere, we will usually turn to food for pleasure, because our brain knows that's the easiest way to find pleasure. So the fact that we understand that and that we need to remind ourselves of that, it's like, okay, I know I turned to food for pleasure. So analyze your day and be like, running and going for walks was my pleasure. I can't do that right now, but what else can I do instead? What's going to give me pleasure? Connecting with friends over Zoom, maybe that's going to give me pleasure. Trying out a new hobby. Like there's so many things, even the way we exercise, like gyms are shut, we can't do PT sessions, but everyone is doing classes online. Jump on YouTube and try something totally different, like a dance class. If you usually do high intensity workouts, do some yoga and Pilates, like mix it up and give yourself something to look forward to, that this is going to fill up my pleasure void that I am missing. Not only am I missing it because I can't go to work, I'm in isolation, but I'm also missing it because that maybe I can't go for those walks, maybe my iron's mucking up. So what else can I implement it? Because if I don't find that thing, I'm going to be turning to food. I'm going to turn for sugar or whatever it is. And sometimes we just need that. Sometimes we just need a bag of cookies and that's what we need. But it's analyzing it and being like, is that what I need? Or can something else fill that void? Yeah. Great advice. So now, in terms of the services that you offer and the support that you offer, is there anything that you offer right now which can also help with this? If people have further questions after listening to this about their specific circumstance, or they want some advice on what they can apply personally in their routine, what do you offer right now to help with that?
So right now I've got one-on-one coaching. That would be my main source of connection with people. I do group coaching courses, but they're only obviously on certain dates. And my group coaching course is based around people who are binge eaters specifically. But at the moment I'm doing one-on-one coaching for anyone who either wants to heal their relationship with food, heal their relationship with their body, or struggles just with any kind of disordered eating pattern. So one-on-one coaching, if you would like to do that with me, the way it works is that we jump on a call, I find out everything about you, and then I create you a personalized program with specific strategies to obviously what you're struggling with. We check in, we see how you're going, and obviously we go from there. So if you're interested in that, you can just email me. I'll put all the information down, but it's hello@barexbrave.com, hello@barexbrave.com. Or just go to my Instagram, barexbrave, and you can just see kind of everything that I kind of am about, or you can just DM me over there. But that's my main thing right now, one-on-one coaching, which I love. Like I love nothing more than just helping people and connecting and being like, yes, I totally know what you're going through. I've been there. Let me help you.
Love your energy. Love your enthusiasm. I'd love to be helped by you. You're awesome.
I'm here.
And is there the link for you have a freebie that you're offering at the moment too?
Yep, I do have a freebie. So we're going to pop that in the links. I have it's kind of for, I'll just talk about the link. It's for binge eaters. But it can help anyone, really. If you're an emotional eater, if you are someone who's just turning to food but has a bad relationship right now, any of these kind of tips can help. So download it, see how it feels for you. And yeah, hopefully it gives you some good advice. It's kind of, I've covered a lot of it in here, but yeah, it's a good one.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yes, as you're saying, we will provide the links along with that in the post. And is there anything else that you wanted to add before we finish up today?
I think I'm pretty happy with that. What I did notice, I'm not sure if this even shows in the video, but you know how it says your name? Mine says Mel Synergy Dance. My name is Melanie Lillis if you want to find me on Instagram. I just teach some dance classes online at the moment, which is really fun. That's why it's up there. That's all I have to add.
Cool. It's funny how that's not adding on all the calls, but for some reason on this one today that just came on. So
I just saw it. I saw it just then. I was like, I should have probably changed my name. Oh well, doesn't matter. Whatever. But no, I think the only other thing that I would add is just just for people to understand that we are so all in this together, and isolation sucks, and we're so lucky in Australia to have not really gone into full lockdown and still have things available to us. But in saying that, that's not to downgrade the fact that people are probably really struggling right now. And just to know that you're not alone. Thank you, Nat, for creating these where we can help and give advice and hopefully inspire or motivate someone who is struggling. But just reach out. Like, I am always here if someone just wants to chat. I don't need your money. Just come and chat with me, and I'm more than happy to help you, because I think that there's nothing more important than connecting right now and knowing that there is support out there. And it's totally fine to feel the way you're feeling, but there are strategies to just help make the situation better than worse.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today and being willing to share you with us.
Thank you,
It's been great.
Yeah,
no worries.
It's been fun.
And thank you, audience, so much for coming and joining us. If you have any questions or there's a particular aha moment that you feel comfortable to share, do feel free to pop them in the comments. And like we said, the links will be provided along with this, and you can feel free to connect as you need to.
Yay! Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nat.
Look forward to connecting soon, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.